our Week 7 college football top 25 rankings, and we're doing these videos every single Tuesday, so make sure you subscribe, turn on the noties to make sure you don't miss whenever these come out. We also do NFL content, college basketball, NBA, and MLB, so if any of that interests you, go down there, subscribe. But we got a lot to talk about this week. Obviously, the big story, Penn State and Texas both dropped their second game of the season. Now both of these teams are in must-win mode at this point. And yeah, these were preseason number 1 and number 2. And all of a sudden, they're sitting at 3 and 2. Neither of them are ranked in the AP poll. We'll see if I still have them ranked. Miami probably has the best resume at this point in the country. Where do I have them ranked? Do I have them number 1? We'll see. Alabama picks up another great win. There's a lot to talk about here. And obviously, we're going to make our predictions for every game involving a ranked team this next coming week. So let's go ahead and get right into it. I think that's enough talking. I am still going to have Penn State ranked, I know. A lot of you may not like this one, but I'm going to keep him at number 25. Down 18 spots is kind of crazy. I don't think any team has ever dropped that much in a single week, at least in my rankings. Usually when a team loses, I drop them like 7, 8, 9, 10. I mean, it's very rarely in the double digits, so the fact that it was 18 is kind of crazy. But you look at the context of this game, I don't think it's that crazy for them to drop 18. Now they've lost 2 games in a row. Oregon, that's not a bad loss at all. Oregon looks like a great team. But dropping this UCLA game is really inexcusable. I had them going in there. I think I had them covering the spread. It was like 24.5. I thought Penn State would blow them out. I thought this was a get-right game for them. UCLA 0-4, just one of the worst offenses in the country until that point. But all of a sudden, Nico Iamaleava comes out there, and he shows flashes of what he did in the first half against Ohio State in the playoff game with Tennessee last year. He was just running all over them. They couldn't stop him. Penn State was trying to mount the comeback there, and they just couldn't get a stop on defense. And this wasn't one of those fluky games where it's like, a bunch of crazy things happen and UCLA squeaks out a win. UCLA was up, what was it, 27-7 at halftime or something like that. It was ridiculous. And in the second half, Penn State started to come back a little, but then they couldn't get a stop. You gotta get some stops. You gotta score if you want to make a big comeback. Penn State finally figured out the offense a little bit. They were starting to score. They couldn't stop UCLA. Nico was just having a great day. He looked really good. And it's a great story, man. They fire their head coach. They, lose their OC. They lose their DC. Literally did not have any coordinators, either coordinator, their head coach. They had an interim guy in there. He was the backup QB that won him a game a while back. Obviously, you guys know what I'm referencing when he was carried off the field. He did that, so that was fun to see for UCLA. And they pick up their first win of the season. Big win for UCLA. Good for them to go out and get this win. But when you're looking at Penn State, now all of a sudden, they probably need to win out. I mean, do they get in at 9-3? I'm assuming, one of those losses would be Ohio State, Indiana. Do they get in at 9-3 if, one of those losses is to UCLA? I don't know. I think Penn State might have to win out. And do we trust James Franklin to get the win? Obviously, that's going to be a talking point. Will he get fired? We'll see. I mean, he could very well. I don't know if they'll fire him at this point. I think they'll probably let him go the rest of the season. But we'll definitely see. People were talking about that after Oregon just because he still can't win the big game. And this was supposed to be Penn State's year where they finally did that. They brought back all their guys. But, man, the offense just doesn't look right. I mean, there were weird play calling decisions in this game. They just don't tend to get their best players the ball enough. Their wide receiver room is just bad, plain and simple. I'm worried about Penn State. I kind of do this thing where I give these teams one more chance, so I'm giving Penn State one more chance here at 25. But if they go out and struggle again with Northwestern or even lose, they're going to be gone for sure. I do think they'll win pretty easily, though. I have it winning by 20. I think they will win. I think hopefully they can get stuff going, but offensively I'm very worried for Penn State. And defensively, too, they've given up 42 points to UCLA, who was 134th in scoring offense going into that game, by the way, without all 3 of their main coaches. So, really bad loss. They're moving down 18. The Texas loss, not as bad against Florida. I think Texas deserves to be ranked still. I understand if you want to throw a team like BYU in there, Yes, some of you may not like that. I don't have BYU ranked. I don't have South Florida ranked. I don't have Memphis ranked. I don't have Cincy ranked. Those were kind of the teams I also considered. But I think Texas still deserves to be ranked. You look at the loss against Ohio State. That looks like a really good loss. 7 points on the road against the number one team. And then the Florida loss is a little rough, but it wasn't, terrible. They lost by 8 points. I understand Florida kind of dominated them on the lines of scrimmage. Texas's O-line looks pretty bad. And I worry about that going into Red River. Arch Manning, the pressure's got to be gone because I don't think anybody at this point thinks he's that good. So maybe he can kind of get right here against Oklahoma. I could see it. John Mateer, you hear about the coach. He's saying he doubts he's going to play. He's not expecting him to play. Then you hear the Chipotle report where John Mateer told somebody he was going to play for Red River. So we'll see what ends up happening. I could see him playing. He is that kind of player. And if he does play, I think Oklahoma wins easily. I'm going to just say that right now. Without him, though, I still think Oklahoma could win. You look at how good this defense has been for the Sooners. They look like a really strong team, and the D-line has been really, really good. And we saw what Florida's D-line did to Texas. Texas's offensive line is a problem, and I think Oklahoma defensively can utilize that to their strengths. I think they can get to Arch Manning. I think with or without John Mateer, I'm going to pick Oklahoma to win this game. I understand it's in, it's Red River. It's a big game. Texas is in a must-win scenario because if they lose another game, they're done. If they lose their third game, even if they win out, I mean, you'd get a win over Georgia and A&M. Is that enough to get in at 3 losses? Maybe. But 9-3 is kind of the cutoff unless there's like a big exception, which maybe it's Texas just because they were preseason number 1. But I think Oklahoma wins this game. The QB, what's his name? Michael Hawkins, I believe. I'm pretty sure he played in Red River last year. So, he has a little bit of experience there. I think that's going to help Oklahoma to get this win. I really do. I think Oklahoma wins this game with or without John Mateer. Now, if John Mateer plays, I feel pretty confident Oklahoma will get it done. That defense is so good. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. Texas's defense, I was giving them a lot of props. They just gave up 29 to Florida, who has not looked very good offensively this whole season. So that's a bit concerning. But I'm going to take Oklahoma to win. I think they're overall the better team. Like I said, with John Mateer, this would be very easy. But without him, I think it's going to be pretty close. I could see Texas winning as well. Florida State, moving down 7. Not a bad loss, losing to Miami by 6 points. Now, if you watch the game, it was realistically a little bit more than 6 points. I think Miami was up 28-0 or 28-3 at some point in the fourth quarter, I believe. I think it was 28-3. Miami looks really good, man. Miami's just, they don't really have a weakness at this point. Florida State, I'm a little concerned. They had the letdown against Virginia. They had the Miami game. Can they get right against Pitt? I think they do. I think they will win against Pitt. I think Pitt could maybe stick around, maybe make it a little interesting. But I think Florida gets right. I think Tommy Castellanos kind of figures it out. But, Florida State, they showed some fight at the end of the game, I guess. They came back there, 19 points in the fourth quarter. Had a chance to get the onside to go out and win the game. They didn't get it. So I guess at least there's something there with Florida State. They don't look like a bad team whatsoever. Obviously not. But Castellanos had 2 picks. They didn't play that great. So the fact that they got it to 6 points at the end, I guess that shows something. To be fair, though, Miami felt like at least kind of let off the gas a little bit. I mean, Florida had a fumble as well. I think they had 3 turnovers in this game. What can you do? They came back. That's really what I'm saying. I'm saying they're showing some fight. I am a little worried the rest of the way, but I think they can win out. And a 10-2 Florida State team with a win over Alabama, I don't know, man. I think that's good enough to get in. So I think Florida State's not in a terrible spot as we speak right now. Number 22 is going to be Utah. I'm going to have them ranked still. I had them ranked. They lost to Texas Tech. That loss is looking better and better by the day, by the way, because Texas Tech, I'm starting to get really excited about Texas Tech. But Utah is going to move up 3. They're coming off the bye. They had some time to prepare for ASU coming to town, and that's a huge game. Whoever wins that game is probably the second best team in the Big 12. I mean, Iowa State's in there as well. But whoever wins this game, Arizona State, Utah, I would say is probably the favorite to go ahead and play Texas Tech, because I'm assuming Texas Tech is going to make the Big 12 championship. And that's a huge game. So this is a very big game. The fact that Utah gets it at home is huge. I still think Utah is the hardest place to play in the Big 12. They're 6.5-point favorites at home. It was a late game, 10:15 Eastern. I think Utah goes out and gets it done. You know, Devin Dampier versus Sam Leavitt. It's going to be a fun matchup. I do think Arizona State will cover. I think Arizona State's still a really talented team. Obviously, Sam Leavitt, Jordan Tyson. Jordan Tyson might be the wide receiver 1 in the NFL draft class. Maybe not, because Carnell Tate, not all of a sudden, he's always been good, but he's been really good as of late. But yeah, Arizona State, Jordan Tyson, really good receiver. I just think at home, Devin Dampier gets it done. I know they didn't get it done against Texas Tech, but you look at the rest of their games, and they've been really, really good offensively, except for the Texas Tech game. Maybe that just goes to show how good Tech is. But I think against Arizona State, they will be able to score some. I think they go out and get a win there in the very late game Saturday night. Number 21 is going to be Iowa State. They moved down 7 after suffering their first loss of the season to Cincinnati. It's always these weird games, man. I'm telling you. We'll go out and see a weird line. We're thinking, why is this team favored? I was saying that about Cincinnati. Couldn't understand why they were favored. I thought Iowa State was the better team. I had it close. I had Iowa State winning by 4 points. They go on the road, lose to Cincinnati now. It was a lot more of a blowout than this final score will indicate. Cincinnati was up pretty big for a while in this one. Iowa State did claw back, though. They had a chance there at the end to win the game. They got it to 30. They got it to the 8-point game. They got it to the final score. They had 2 plays with 10 seconds left to get it done. You know, obviously, they got stopped on 4th down late in the 4th quarter. They had a punt early in the 4th quarter. I mean, it was a 9-point game the entire 4th quarter, besides when it became, you know, an 18-point game. Yeah, I mean, it was big. It was a big momentum shift because it looked like Iowa State might be able to pull off the comeback. They were down 31-22, and then all of a sudden Cincinnati just has a deep shot, 80-yard touchdown to go up by 16 again, and at that point I figured it was over. But Iowa State hung in there. They scored. They got a stop. They had a chance. I still believe in Rocco Becht, but obviously we're talking about Iowa State. They play a lot of teams close. They're kind of prone for an upset, so if there was any game they were going to lose, it would be that game. But you still look at the schedule, it's very favorable. The toughest games are BYU and Arizona State left. They get those both at home. I think they could very well win this game. As long as they're not trailing in these games, they should be able to win. I think Carson Hansen got hurt in this one, their running back as well. So that's obviously tough for Iowa State. But nonetheless, they do end up losing. Cincinnati, you could argue, should be ranked. I could see it. They've looked like a much better team there with Brenton Sorsby after that Nebraska loss week 1. Iowa State, I think they'll win against Colorado. I think they have a nice little bounce-back game. The thing about Iowa State, they just can't go down. If they go out and control the game and you know, win because they win a lot of close games. You look at their schedule. But I do think they do that against Colorado. They're only 2.5-point favorites. Kind of weird. I think they cover that pretty easily, but maybe it's one of those things where I'm just wrong again because the people in Vegas and the sports books know way more than I do. Number 20 is going to be Vanderbilt. They're only moving down 2. They actually hung around in this game against Bama. It's kind of the opposite thing with Iowa State, with Florida State, where they made the final score look closer than it really was. This game was a lot closer than 16 points. Vandy was hanging in there. Alabama kind of pulled away late, but Vandy didn't look terrible. You know, Pavia did have under 200 yards, and, you know, they probably weren't going to win if that was going to be his stat line. But they looked really good at the start, man. They got an interception. They got a touchdown. They went up 7-0 right away. Then Alabama missed a field goal. The turnovers really just hurt Vandy in this one. They had some turnovers at key points in the game. They had an interception in the 4th quarter. They had a turnover on downs in the 4th quarter. Yeah, that kind of just helped out Alabama to get it done, get the win. Alabama looks really good, man. Jam Miller finally got going. So if Alabama can get a run game, they're going to be a problem. Vandy's on bye, which I think helps them. I think this home game against LSU is pretty interesting. I think they could potentially win that game. Diego Pavia has the juice in him. But yeah, Alabama does get the win. It was on the road for Vandy, so I'm not going to fault him too much, only dropping down 2. Number 19 is going to be Illinois. They go out against Purdue, get the job done. It was kind of a weird game. Purdue's been scoring a lot of points. I don't know, maybe Purdue's better than we're giving them credit for. But Illinois ends up scoring 43. Luke Altmaier almost threw for 400 yards. Now against Ohio State, I doubt he'll do that. They do get it at home. It's a big spot for Illinois. The spread is pretty big on this one, 16.5. Actually, it's come down a little. I thought it was 16.5. It's now 14.5. So people are betting Illinois. People are liking Illinois. I'm not going to be doing that. I'm going to take Ohio State to cover pretty easily. This Ohio State defense, man, it's really good. I know Luke Altmaier's been really solid against USC. They were able to run the ball. Luke Altmaier was making big plays. Luke Altmaier looks really good. So I do think Ohio State will finally end up giving up double-digit points because they have yet to do that this year, by the way. They also have yet to give up a red zone touchdown. I think that probably ends in this game. I think Illinois maybe could stick around for the first half. Maybe it's like a 7-point game going into halftime. I could see Illinois being tied at the end of the first quarter, something like that. I think Illinois could hang around for a bit, but I do think Ohio State's defense ultimately makes enough plays. Ohio State just looks really good, man, and I think Illinois' defense is going to give out at some point against this Ohio State offense. So I'm going to take Ohio State to win. Not so much hating on Illinois, just giving Ohio State the credit where they deserve it. Number 18 is going to be ASU, Arizona State, coming off the bye. Two pretty big back-to-back wins there, Baylor, TCU. Now they go on the road against Utah. We kind of already talked about this one. I think it's going to be a fun one. I think it could be a shootout. I think it could be a little bit of a more low-scoring game. I have it kind of in the middle. But I do think Devin Dampier, that night atmosphere in Utah, it's going to be hard to beat, man. Like I've been saying, it's probably the toughest place to play in the Big 12, and Arizona State has a really hard schedule, man. Mississippi State, they lost, but Mississippi State looks pretty good. Baylor on the road's tough. TCU's tough. Utah, Texas Tech. Houston was undefeated until last week. They got at Iowa State. I mean, Arizona State's schedule is brutal. I think they have the talent and they have the pieces to get some of these wins, but against Utah, I do think Devin Dampier leads his team to a win. It's on the road for ASU, so that's really it. If this was in Tempe, I'd probably pick Arizona State, but it is in Utah, so I'm going to go ahead and go with them in that one. Number 17 is going to be Georgia Tech. I think I moved them down like 5 or 6 spots last week. I'm just going to kind of move them back to where they were. They're off the bye. I understand they're 5-0, but I'm not going to rank them that high. What's their best win? They almost lost to Wake Forest. They didn't play that great against Colorado. They beat Clemson by 3, but whoop-de-doo, Clemson's not very good. Georgia Tech, man, there's a very real chance they go into this game against Georgia 11-0. Could you imagine that? I mean, Georgia Tech's just going to keep moving up by nature of, just winning these games as long as they do continue to win these games. Haynes King gets some well-deserved rest. He's just an absolute baller. He's getting 20 carries a game. It's ridiculous at QB. I mean, it's really insane. So the bye week here, I think, helps them a lot. I think they're going to be well-rested. I think they come out and get a big win over Virginia Tech at home. Number 16 is going to be Virginia. So Virginia now picks up 2 very big back-to-back wins. Florida State, obviously, the huge one where they stormed the field. But last week, going into Louisville, winning 30-27 in overtime, not letting down. This was a big letdown spot for Virginia. I thought maybe, riding high, they could go into Louisville, very well lose to Miller Moss, and this Louisville team who is undefeated. Virginia still undefeated in conference play. There's a good chance now with Florida State having 2 conference losses. I mean, Virginia, Georgia Tech, Miami, all those teams are undefeated in ACC play. It's going to be interesting here down the line, seeing who gets into the ACC championship game. I think Virginia has a very good shot to do that. They're going to have to probably win out. I mean, Georgia Tech might win out. I'm assuming Miami wins out. There's a chance there's 3 undefeated teams in ACC play, which is ridiculous to think about. And the fact that it's not Clemson or FSU as one of those three, that's even crazier. But yeah, that NC State game is a weird game. It's a non-con game. But yeah, Virginia, I'm getting high on them. I got them all the way up at 16. I like that they were able to get that Louisville win. They're moving up big. They get a big bye that week, this week. Number 15 is going to be Notre Dame. I know what you're going to say. They maybe shouldn't be this high with 2 losses, but man, I don't know. This offense looks really good. You look at this running back room. You look at how CJ Carr's been looking. I mean, look at their losses, man. It's a 3-point loss against Miami, who's ranked number 2 in the AP poll. A 1-point loss. They're a botch snap away from potentially beating A&M, who is ranked 4. That's 2 top 4 teams, and they've lost to them by a combined 4 points. One of them on the road. You know, and you look at the rest of the games, they've dominated. I'm telling you, Notre Dame's a good team. They're very sneaky. I think Notre Dame could very well backdoor their way back, you know, into the playoffs by the end of the year at 10-2 if they end up winning out. And if you're like a 3 seed, you know, or if you're like a 7 seed, a 6 seed, and Notre Dame's like the 10 or 11 seed, that's not a team you want to play, I promise you. CJ Carr looks really good. This offense looks really good. They have the best running back room in the country, probably, with Jeremiah Love there. Notre Dame's not going to be a fun out if they end up getting into the playoffs there as a low seed, which I think they probably will, because I do think they run the table. I think they beat NC State here pretty easily. I'm not too worried there. Number 14 is going to be Michigan. They get another win against Wisconsin. Michigan continues to roll, but now's really the big test. Back-to-back weeks, USC and Washington. Then they got their rivals, MSU. So this next 3-game stretch, we talked about this last week, but this month of October is huge for Michigan. We'll see what happens here against USC. I think this game could very well go either way. I think you got to let Bryce Underwood play a little bit. The problem with USC, and the reason I'm going to go ahead and pick Michigan, I think USC giving up 171 rushing yards to Illinois is a big problem. Michigan, Justice Haynes is just a big play waiting to happen. He's like a guaranteed 100 yards every game. I think they're going to have trouble stopping him if Michigan can control the clock in this game. Now, USC could very well play from behind and win. You know, USC has the playmakers, Jacoby Lane. He's really good. You know, the USC's got a lot of guys. Their QB's solid. Got a lot of weapons at wide receiver. But I think Michigan just goes out and gets this one done. I think Bryce Underwood makes the plays. He's also a threat rushing. So I think USC is going to have some trouble stopping the run. I think USC could win. It's a night game in the Coliseum. USC's a really good team. That's very concerning if I'm a Michigan fan. Like I said, this is probably the hardest game for me to pick this week. This week has a lot of weird games. A lot of games I think could go either way. It's just going to be a very weird week of college football, but I think Michigan squeaks out a win just because of the run game. But I did have USC last night when I made all these, you know, graphics, so I switched to Michigan right before I hit record. So that just goes to show how back and forth I'm on this game. But I'm going to take Michigan. Number 13, how about Missouri, man? And when talking about Missouri, you got to start with Bo Pribula. He leaves Penn State, and you know, I'm sure Penn State fans would love to have him back here. Drew Aller's not looking too hot, and that offense kind of suits Pribula more than Drew Aller, but I digress. Missouri is looking like a pretty formidable team. Their defense looks solid. They don't give up a lot of rushing yards. It's kind of good for Alabama because they don't really like to run the ball. They did against Vandy, and if Alabama and Jam Miller can figure out the run game, like I said, they're going to be a problem. But Missouri's been really good, man. They score a lot of points. Bo Pribula has been amazing. And they get Alabama coming to town at home. Mind you, Alabama coming off a big emotional win against Georgia. Obviously, they had to get up for that Georgia game. They got up for that Vandy game. It was a revenge game, big game for them. Can't lose to them 2 years in a row, so they got their revenge win. And next week, they play Tennessee, one of their biggest rivals. Missouri is slotted in like the perfect spot to catch Alabama. They also get it at home. It's an early game too. Will Alabama be able to get up for this one? This is a really tough spot, man. I could very well see Missouri winning this game. But with the way Ty Simpson's playing, man, it's hard for me not to pick Bama. I think Bama squeaks out a win. I think Missouri could very well win this game. It's the same thing with Michigan USC. Could go either way. Missouri is a very sneaky upset pick. I just think Alabama is playing with too much urgency right now. But maybe you get them at the right time in between Georgia, Vandy, and then Tennessee next week. That could be a problem for Bama. But, the fact Missouri's defense is like top 10 in rushing yards allowed, and Bama, besides last week against Vandy, hasn't really been that great at rushing the ball. So I think they'll be fine there. I think Ty Simpson, Ryan Williams, Jeremy Bernard will be able to make enough plays to get this one done. But Missouri, very good team. They could definitely win. Number 12 is going to be Tennessee. They're coming off the bye yet. They're coming off the bye. Just had to recall that from my brain. They're going up against Arkansas. Joey Aguilar looks like, I can't even say he looks like the best QB in the SEC anymore because you got Ty Simpson, you got Marcel Reed. But Joey Aguilar is definitely up there. He's probably 3 at least. Against Arkansas, I think they'll win. I think they'll once again score 40 points. They've yet to score under 40 points. I think they do it again against Arkansas. Arkansas gave up 56 against Notre Dame. I think Tennessee is going to be able to air this one out. Still believing in Arkansas to be able to score points, but I think Tennessee will win. I think they cover. LSU coming off the bye after the unfortunate loss to Ole Miss on the road, but I think they're fine. I think they can recollect. I think Garrett Nussmeier, it's good to get the bye there. They get some time to go ahead and get healthy, at least him. So I think the defense is fine. I think LSU ultimately is going to be fine. Ole Miss looks like a really good team, man. Now LSU, the Florida win I guess looks a little better because they just beat Texas, but the Clemson win, I'll give them props. LSU's defense is still elite, one of the best in the country. You would have liked to win that game against Ole Miss though. But coming up are some huge games, man. I know South Carolina's not that big, and I do think they win, by the way. I just have a hard time believing South Carolina will be able to score that many points. But then they get Vandy on the road, A&M, and then Bama on the road, and then Oklahoma to close out the season. Those are some tough games, man. So LSU's got a tough road ahead of them. We'll see what they can do. We'll see. They kind of control their own destiny here. They only have one loss. So if they wanted to, they could, if they win 3 of those 4, they're going to be a very high seed, probably in the SEC championship as well if they win 3 of those 4. The SEC has a lot of good teams, not very many great teams. Maybe not a great team. They're not really at the top this year, but they are very deep still. Number 10, another SEC team is going to be Georgia. Moving down one just because I kind of wanted to put one team behind them ahead of them. They didn't do really anything wrong. They looked good against Kentucky. I thought they might struggle. Now, speaking of struggle, I do think they will struggle against Auburn. I think they win just because, man, Auburn's O-line does not look good. Oklahoma was able to get to Jackson Arnold. I think Georgia will be able to. But I do worry Gunnar Stockton, first-year starter in the SEC, is going on the road. Night game in Jordan-Hare. That's very tricky, man. Crazy things happen in Jordan-Hare Stadium. Auburn's not a fun team to play on the road, especially at night. And they have a solid team. They gave Oklahoma a game. They gave A&M a game. So they're a pretty good team with Jackson Arnold there. I do think Georgia will do enough. I think if Jackson Arnold finds some of his guys as playmakers, Kim Coleman, if he gets going, the Georgia secondary does look a little bit weak. We saw Ty Simpson work him. We saw Joey Aguilar work him. Both of those guys had great games against Georgia. So I think per chance, Jackson Arnold and Cam Coleman can kind of connect, make some plays downfield. But I do just worry how much time will he have to let Cam Coleman get open, let those routes develop downfield. Because I do think Georgia's secondary is gettable, but I mean Jackson Arnold just gets sacked too much. So I don't know if he'll have the time to be able to do that. I'm going to trust Kirby Smart to get another win here, but it's only a 3.5-point game. I do have Georgia covering, but it's a very close spread. So keep your eyes on this one. Could be a potential upset spot, and they also have Ole Miss coming up next week. So maybe a potential trap game there. Texas Tech, man, moving up 3. They're jumping ahead of Georgia, and I think they have to at this point. They're 5-0. Texas Tech looks like the runaway favorite in the Big 12, and that's not crazy to say. look at what this team's doing. They go into Utah, win by 24 points. They go out into Houston, potential maybe a struggle game just because they're coming off the big win. They go into Houston, win 35-11. It was never even a game. This offense looks great, and the defense probably looks better. The most points they've given up this year is 14. Texas Tech's defense, and especially their front seven, man, they get after it out there, man. Texas Tech built this team a lot in the transfer portal and with NIL, and it shows, man. Texas Tech, I'm going to start saying this, Texas Tech is not just the best team in the Big 12, and they're not just a good team because they're in the Big 12. I think Texas Tech has the athletes to compete with some of these Big 10 and SEC teams. I think Texas Tech is going to be a tough team all year. I think there's a very good chance, looking at the schedule, that they go 12-0. I think their floor at this point, I'm so high on them, I think their floor is probably 11-1. You look at their games at ASU, that's tough. BYU could be a little tough. That's kind of it. So if even if they split those games, which I'm not sure if they will lose one of those, I think their floor is 11-1. Ceiling is obviously 12-0. I think they could very well end up 13-0 going into the playoffs. I think they could go undefeated in the Big 12, win the Big 12. Against Kansas, I think they win once again pretty big. Maybe I have Kansas scoring a little too many points, but the over-under is very high in this one, I believe. And Kansas usually tends to score a lot of points, but maybe I'm giving them too much credit because Texas Tech's defense has been just lights out. Indiana, coming off the bye, they have a big game here going into Eugene. The narrative for Indiana is, well, last year they didn't play anyone. They went 11-1. They end up losing to Ohio State in the regular season. They end up losing in the first round of the playoffs to Notre Dame. And they can't really beat a team that has more talent than them. I think against Oregon probably does have more talent than them, which is unfortunate. That's just kind of how it goes with the NIL money. Oregon just has more, and they just get better recruits. But Indiana's a feisty team this year. I think Indiana's better than they were last year, which is saying a lot because they went 11-1. I think there's a very real chance. You look at that Penn State game, I think Indiana could go out and win that game. And if they do, then we'll finally get over that. But against Oregon on the road, I don't know. Both these teams are going to look to run the ball. I'm going to trust the Oregon lines of scrimmage a little bit more just because I think they're bigger and stronger. But Indiana, Fernando Mendoza, he's got experience. He's got more experience than Dante Moore, which could potentially play a factor. But I'm just going to roll with the home team. I do think Oregon covers. I think they have too many guys. I think both these teams are going to look to run the ball. Who do I trust passing the ball more? It's going to be Dante Moore. It's going to be the playmakers Oregon has with DeCorian Moore. Dante Moore is probably the favorite for Heisman right now, so I'm going to go ahead and go with him. I'm going to trust him to make the plays. They also get it at home, so it's not like the environment's going to be a problem. If this was in Bloomington, I could see Indiana making it a close one, maybe even winning. But the fact that it's in Eugene, it's very far travel. It is college game day this week, which should be fun, but I'm going to take the Oregon Ducks at home to win and cover. But I think it's going to be close for a while now, and I don't think it's going to be like a 10-point game the whole time. Bama. Big revenge win against Vandy after they lost to them last year. And Bama, ever since losing to FSU, has been on a tear. Ty Simpson looks legit. He's probably number 2 in the Heisman candidate race. It's him and Dante Moore as the top 2. John Mateer would probably be in there if he didn't get injured. I mean, he definitely would. He was the favorite in my eyes before he got injured. But now, I kind of talked about this when we talked about Missouri. Alabama goes on the road into Columbia, Missouri, to play this Tigers team, and Bo Prabula, who looks really good. Missouri's undefeated, man. Missouri's a really good team, and Bama coming off 2 huge wins, Georgia on the road and then Vandy, revenge game, and then they got Tennessee coming to town next week. This could be a potential spot for a trap game for Bama. I could definitely see it. I've seen some smart people picking Missouri in this one. I can't bring myself to do it. I trust Ty Simpson a little bit too much, but would I be shocked if Missouri wins this game? No. I think Alabama could very well drop this game. I just can't go against what Ty Simpson has been doing, and Jeremy Bernard, Ryan Williams. I struggle to see how Missouri may be able to stop that. I think Missouri can stop the run because Jim Miller hasn't. I know he's only played a game or two. Did he play against Georgia? I don't even remember. But against Vandy, he kind of got going, and if Alabama gets a run game, it's going to be a problem for the SEC because that was kind of their weak point. So, maybe Jam Miller would continue to run. If Alabama's able to run this game and control the game like they did against Vandy, I don't know if Missouri has a chance, but the fact that it's on the road in between these kind of games, it's an early game, could potentially be an upset spot for Bama. We'll keep our eyes on that one. Number 6, Oklahoma goes out, beats Kent State 44-0, and we kind of talked about this. I think Oklahoma wins this game in Red River without John Mateer, with or without him. I think if he played, I'd probably pick Oklahoma to win by double-digit points. I think Oklahoma is that good. I think the defense is that good. Arch Manning, he's getting some guys open against Florida, and big plays. He was just missing them. Arch Manning does not look all that great. I don't know how he'll look in his first Red River, and I kind of said this. Michael Hawkins played in Red River, I believe, unless I'm mistaken. I'm pretty sure he played last year in Red River. So he has experience. He has more experience than Arch Manning in this spot. Texas in a must-win scenario, so they could very well win this game. Texas still has the talent. I still believe in this defense. But I believe in this Oklahoma defense, too. And Brent Venables just knows how to call a defense. He's ridiculous. I think Oklahoma wins it. I think they're able to win it without Mateer. If they do and Mateer's back for the rest of the schedule, that's huge for Oklahoma. This is a game they could drop, though. Texas is favored, and I could very well see Sarkisian getting a win here. Because, again, it's a must-win game for Texas. Rivalry. But I don't know, man. I'm going to trust Oklahoma. I don't feel great about this. Texas could definitely win. Again, a lot of weird games that could go either way this week. Number 5 is going to be Ole Miss coming off the bye. Kind of a boring game to play Washington State. I think they'll win pretty easy. We're going to keep this short and simple. Trinidad Chambliss looks great. Lane Kiffin doing a great job. He's got his team at 5-0, inside of my top 5. But after this Washington State game, at Georgia and at Oklahoma, that is a huge 2-game spot for them. If they get through that they split that somehow, that's huge for them. If they split that, they probably finish 11-1. Even if they drop both of those games, Ole Miss' schedule is favorable enough to, win out besides those 2 games. And a 10-2 Ole Miss team with a win over LSU, with a win over, Florida, Mississippi State, South Carolina at that point, I think Ole Miss is in a very good spot to get in. I don't think Ole Miss will fall off. I feel like what they usually do, unless they lose one of these games they're not supposed to, which they kind of do every year. So we'll see if it's different. I think it might be, but as of right now, I'm gonna have Ole Miss at 5. Number 4 is gonna be A&M, and now with A&M, I think it's fair to say this defense is elite. This running game is elite. A&M has showed a very different team from week to week. They've been able to win high-scoring games. They've been able to win low-scoring games. I kind of want them to get an identity, and I think they kind of are. I think they're more of a run-first team, and a defensive-based team, and I like that for A&M. I do. I think Marcel Reed's a really good player. He's got weapons on the outside. Casey Concepcion is amazing. I'm blanking on the other receiver's name, but you guys know who I'm talking about. He's great as well. And I mean, the running back, what's his name? Le'Veon Moss, I believe. He has been a problem. If A&M's able to run the ball like this, I don't see them losing to Florida. Florida's coming off a big win as well. So I think A&M will probably be just fine against Florida. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game, but I think A&M will be able to win. But DJ Lagway looked pretty good against Texas, so I think they'll put up a little bit of points. But I do think A&M wins once again. I think it could be a defensive game, though. Both these teams have pretty good defenses. I'm just going to trust A&M to kind of run the ball, get first downs, win the time of possession, and ultimately end up winning this game here at home, moving to 6-0. A&M's schedule is also pretty favorable for an SEC schedule. They've kind of won a lot of their tougher games already. I know they have LSU, Missouri, Texas, all on the road coming up, so I guess they haven't won their tougher games. But they went into Notre Dame, won, beat Auburn, beat Mississippi State. I think they'll beat Florida. So you kind of get what I'm saying. An SEC schedule is going to be tough for everyone. But if A&M starts out 6-0, I think that any A&M fan would take that, and I think they will. Number 3, Oregon's going to move down 1 coming off the bye. Not necessarily that they did anything wrong. Just the team behind them has proved They deserve to be ahead. But I think these top 3 teams are in a tier of their own right now. I think the top 2 teams probably have, much better resumes than Oregon now that that Penn State win doesn't look that great. But you got to factor in that was a top, 5 team when they played them on the road. Penn State's still very talented. I still believe Penn State could make the playoffs, maybe. It's going to be tough with Ohio State and Indiana on the schedule. But I think Oregon does beat Indiana. Like I said, I'm going to trust Dante Moore, and the receivers, I think, are ultimately the difference for Oregon to get some plays going, because I think both these teams will try to run first. It's all going to depend on who wins at the line of scrimmage, who's able to actually execute running the ball. And I think if they both struggle a little, which I think Indiana probably is likely to struggle more than Oregon is, I don't trust Indiana as much in the passing game as I do with Oregon passing the ball. So I think Oregon benefits on that. I think they're just going to win with talent and recruiting. I think Oregon does win. They also get it at home. A lot of signs are pointing Oregon to me. But if Indiana wins this game, they're going to be probably number 3 next week at that point. Indiana's going to be up there. The fact that this is such an important game, such a top 10, a top 10 game, goes to show. I mean, Cignetti's doing a great job over there in Bloomington. Props to him. But I do think Oregon wins. Number 2 is going to be Miami. A lot of y'all are going to say Miami should be 1, and I understand that. You look at this resume, best resume in the country. I think that's fair to say. 3-point win over Notre Dame. Blowout win against South Florida. Win against Florida. Win on the road against Florida State. I mean, they've ran through all the Florida teams. They finally get a bye, so it's some well-deserved rest. But you look at Miami, I don't see the issue with this team, realistically. Maybe Carson Beck, but, can you even say that? He's probably up there for Heisman right now. Maybe I just don't trust him because I saw what he did against Georgia last year, but it's a new season, and I can't even say maybe I just don't trust Carson Beck in a big game because he beat Notre Dame in a big game. He went into Florida State in that environment at night and won a big game. He beat South Florida. That was a big game because South Florida was ranked. Florida, obviously, big rivalry game. He won that. So I don't really know what I can say to kind of justify Miami being at 2. Really, it's just how good Ohio State is that I'm going to keep them at 1. Miami does get a bye, though, so we're going to, not have a prediction here against Louisville. But our number 1 team is going to be Ohio State. They go out once again, hold the team to under double-digit points, 42-3 victory, and Ohio State is just rolling. It's crazy to me that Ohio State's defense is as good as it is with the amount of guys they lost. They lost their entire D-line. They lost Cody Simon, the leader of that defense. They lost a lot of corners, they lost Lathan Ransom. But that D-line's developing, man. Caden Curry looks like a legitimate problem there at the end, end position. Sonny Styles is kind of taking over that Cody Simon role at linebacker. Arvell Reese is really, really good. I think they have maybe the best linebacker room in the country. And then you look at the corners. Jermaine Matthews has been playing great. Caleb Downs is still the best defensive player in the country. This Ohio State defense somehow losing their defense coordinator, losing all the starters that they did. I think they lost 8 starters, 7 starters, something like that. They're better on defense than they were last year, and I think a lot of this is due to Matt Patricia. He's coming in running an NFL-style defense. I was a little worried. I was wrong. I mean, clearly, this Ohio State defense is ridiculous. They're giving up I saw the stat. It was 5.5 points a game average. They've given up 25 total points this season through 5 games, so I guess it's a 5-point average. That's ridiculous. Against Illinois on the road, I do think Illinois will kind of score a little. Maybe I'm wrong, though. Maybe Ohio State is just that good. But you look at this guy. I'm giving the shout-out to the defense, which I think is probably the best thing in college football, or the best unit in college football. Any offensive or defensive, for any team, I think Ohio State's defense is the best any single unit in the country. And that's, looking at the offense, Julian Sayin, 5-star QB, was a little worried about him. He's completing 80% of his passes. He's leading the league leading the country in completion percentage. Jeremiah Smith, best player in the country. Carnell Tate looks like a first-round NFL draft pick there on the other side at wide receiver. And these running backs, Bo Jackson in particular, is developing ridiculously fast. he's looking like a problem. And they still got Donaldson, who's getting touchdowns. James Peoples is still there. I mean, like I said, you can argue Miami all you want. If you line up these two teams neutral site, I think Ohio State wins. So that's why I'm going with Ohio State at number one. Obviously, I have them covering against Illinois on the road, who's a ranked team, which is already a big spread. So that just goes to show how confident I am in this Ohio State team. I am an Ohio State fan, so maybe you can call me biased. But I've watched all these games, man, and they look ridiculous. You could argue maybe this is a letdown spot, but I think we would have already seen that in the Washington game on the road, and they did not do that. So I think Ohio State will be just fine. I think they win against Illinois and continue to roll. But that's going to do it for the Week 7 College Football Top 25 Rankings. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, make sure you go on there, like this video, comment what you agree with, what you disagree with, just thoughts in general. Love to engage with y'all down there. Subscribe, turn on the notices if you are new. We do college football every Tuesday, NFL every Wednesday. We're doing MLB videos every week. We're in the thick of the playoffs right now. College basketball and NBA videos are coming when those seasons start up, which are very soon. Only a couple of weeks for those. So it's the best time of the year to be on the channel. Make sure you subscribe if you are new. But that is going to do it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys tomorrow with an NFL Week 6 NFL Weekly prediction.